These are some of the worst robberies we've seen in UFC history, mainly recent UFC history. I don't feel like jumping so far back, as who really cares about going that far back into UFC history. I'm talking about recent fights that have been horribly judged within the last 5 years or so. And there's just no reason, no merit to those judges actually putting those guys as winners with some substance. You know what I mean? If you disagree with any of these being called robberies, you have no clue what you're talking about. Let's get through what a robbery is, first of all. Right? A robbery in the UFC is a fight given to somebody who should not have won the fight. It does not matter if the fight was close. A fight can be close, and it could be a robbery. It could be a clear winner in a close fight. That's 100% something. That is a guaranteed, solidified fact. If you think a fight cannot be close and a robbery at the same time, you're wrong. You can have a clear winner in a close fight. And I'm telling you, any single UFC robbery that consists of somebody getting a wrong decision, I'm telling you 100%, that guy should have gotten the fight. And that is a robbery. That's what I consider a robbery, and that's what should be considered a robbery. If somebody's wronged by these garbage judges that we have, Adelaide Bird, Sal D'Amato, Chris Lee, Derek Cleary, we can go on and on about it. Let's start off with like some of the 10 fights that I have listed. Now, a lot of you guys are probably losing your mind. Oh, O'Malley clearly won that fight. Oh, this wasn't a robbery. It was close. You could have given it to either guy. Petr Yan won all 3 rounds. Petr Yan won every single round in this fight, and a lot of people want to argue that he lost round 3. O'Malley should have at least gotten the last round. No. O'Malley landed more strikes in that round. He landed the biggest strike in that round on top of that, but the more damaging strikes accumulated in that round. Plus, watch the finish of round 3 and how Petr Yan had O'Malley on his back, how he was smashing his head into the canvas at the end of round 3. Petr Yan won every single round in this fight. I don't understand how somebody with any sort of substance in their head thinks that O'Malley has won this fight. Now, I know a lot of people believed Yan won the fight at the time, and they just completely lied to themselves after, just to manipulate themselves into believing that O'Malley won the fight. Why? I don't know. A lot of people are really big fans of Sean O'Malley. He is fighting tomorrow in UFC 316, where I think he's going to knock out Merab. But he did not beat Petr Yan in the fight, and if they ever fight again, especially in a 5-rounder, he's going to get the life beaten out of him by Yan. Look at the media scorecards in this. I mean, how objectively wrong can a judge's scorecard be? O'Malley only had 1 media member, and I know you guys could say media members don't know what they're talking about. A lot of them don't know much about MMA. I know a lot of you guys think you know more about MMA than media members. I agree with a lot of you. I think a lot of you guys do know more about MMA, more about the UFC. Know how to judge fights a little bit better than the media members. But at the same time, it's a consensus. It's a larger group of people that we get to see that watch the sport at least often enough to score a fight proactively and give us a decent consensus. Now, sometimes they have a little bit of bias collectively, and you can kind of see where they kind of favor a lot of these legends that they don't really see losing. A lot of these media members actually believe in the whole, you can't take a belt off of a champion. But in this case, there is no champion right now. A lot of members think like you have to beat the champ, really beat the champion to be champion. I think it's one of the dumbest concepts in sport. If you win more rounds than the other fighter, it doesn't matter if they've been champion, you take the champion's belt off of them. Anyways, yeah, I think it's a very clear Yan win. I think a couple media members had it 30-27. I had it very clearly 30-27. If you want to really argue O'Malley won round 3, fine, I'll give you it on the basis that he outstruck him. He landed the biggest shot, caught Yan with that knee. But I still think Yan landed the bigger shots across that whole round. And obviously, look at the end of the fight and how he was smashing O'Malley's head into the canvas. I had Yan win that fight very clearly. One of the worst robberies I've seen in the sport. I legitimately could not believe when I heard the decision. Paddy Pimblett versus Jared Gordon. This one had me in complete shock too. I really don't know. I mean, obviously, this is a big difference in Jared Gordon's career, right? I mean, look at the big win he would have had now, considering what Paddy just did to Michael Chandler. I mean, how big of a win Paddy just had over Michael Chandler, and Jared Gordon sitting here. I mean, he's been screwed in a lot of situations. This one being the biggest one. I mean, he won all 3 rounds against Paddy. Does anybody here really think Paddy Pimblett won that fight? There's no way, right? There's no way a living human being thinks Paddy Pimblett won that fight. There's no way. I refuse to believe that somebody with the same power as me, that could vote in an election today, that could go out there and have the same power as me and all that, the same mind going into this and thinking Paddy Pimblett won the fight. No, there's no way. Not only 1 media member had Paddy Pimblett win the fight. I don't know what Dan Urban was watching that fight. I really have no clue. I don't know what he was seeing. Jared Gordon, in my opinion, won all 3 rounds in this fight. I don't really see how you could score any round for Paddy in this fight. He was moving backwards the whole fight. He was getting landed on pretty often in the fight. He wasn't really doing any damage. He didn't really have any grappling success. He was getting clinched. Yeah, nothing happened and really of much merit for Paddy's success in this fight. And I don't really remember a single person online when I was looking at Twitter, looking at TikTok, of really, even on YouTube, of thinking Paddy Pimblett won the fight. I think this was like a very good catalyst for Paddy Pimblett to improve his game, and honestly, he didn't look too improved until the Michael Chandler fight anyways, so I'm honestly genuinely shocked. I feel bad for Jared Gordon, because Gordon, of all people, kind of deserves it more than anything. Like, and he just gets screwed over and over again. The Nasrat Haqparast decision, he kind of got screwed into. Yeah, this is just a fight. I mean, even against Bobby Green, the whole headbutt situation, he ended up, I think, getting a TKO loss because of it. That was a load of garbage. I mean, yeah, this definitely should have been one Gordon got to keep in his pocket and walk away with, and could have been proud taking away the big momentum from Paddy Pimblett, and he just got completely screwed over in this one. Kai Kara France versus Amir Albazi. I don't really think a single person watching that fight convinced themselves that Albazi won that fight. I think it was very outrageous that he got any sort of decision in it. I think most people had the fight scored, especially when it's a 5-rounder, and a lot of people thought that Kai won 4 rounds. The fact that Amir Albazi won 3 rounds on 2 judges' scorecards is legitimately insane, and I still don't understand why. It was in the UFC Apex. He wasn't really the most exciting prospect in the world. This is the first fight he's had, I think, in the rankings as well. And he just gets a horrible decision over Kai Kara France, who's a more exciting fighter, a harder hitter, a better finisher. Like, I can't even tell you, like, a bad reason for Amir Albazi to win the fight. I mean, every single media member, apart from Bloody Elbow and Paul Fontaine, ended up scoring it for Kai Kara France. Several of them, majority of them that scored it for Kai, scored it for Kai Kara France 46-49, 49-46, right? He's 4 rounds. 4 rounds. How do you score? How do most people score the fight 4 rounds to one guy and 2 judges score it? I mean, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's like you isolated Paul Fontaine and Bloody Elbow and made them the judges and just picked one guy out of this whole group for Kai Kara. It doesn't make sense. That fight was so uncompetitive. It really was a pretty stale fight. I wouldn't say uncompetitive. I would say Kai Kara France and Amir Albazi were fighting a pretty competitive fight. I think Amir Albazi won a very clear round where he had Kai Kara France's back. But apart from that, what did he do in the fight? I think Kai landed the better shots. I think he defended the takedowns fantastically. I don't really know how you could credit Amir Albazi any round apart from, I believe, was the 3rd round. So I think this was a completely outrageous. I don't understand what it was. And I mean, you got the life beaten out of him by Brandon Moreno in his next fight anyways. Amir Albazi did. Volkov versus Gane 2 was actually a very interesting one because Gane clearly beat the life out of Volkov 50-45 in their first fight. And then they fight again in front of a crowd instead of the Apex. And it's a diminished Gane, kind of looked worse mentally after that John Jones fight. It's never really looked the same. Even in the Sergey Spivak fight that he had, didn't look that great. When he finished him, was very much like looping away his punches, throwing like hammer fists from distance. It was so bad in his finishing sequence, and he just hasn't looked like the same fighter since he lost to Jones. And against Volkov here, where Volkov's had a revamped career and a revamped run, and a really good run as of recent. I mean, everybody walking out of this like arena thought that Volkov walked away with the fight. And apart from Danny Segura from MMA Junkie, every single media member scored it for Volkov. Zane Simon scoring Volkov 30-27, I didn't understand, but it's a very clear 29-28 decision for Alexander Volkov. I do not understand what was really going on at the judging. I don't know why you would even want Gane to win the fight. I think Volkov was making it more interesting. Volkov's been a better finisher. He's been more exciting. Like a lot of the times, people could say like, okay, they gave this fighter the win because he's a bigger star. They want to push him a little bit more or something like that. I don't see anything interesting coming out of Volkov here. Not out of Volkov, out of Gane. I don't really see anything interesting coming out of Gane. I don't really see anything where they could have scored the fight for Gane. I thought it was a pretty clear loss in round 3. I believe he lost round. I can't remember exactly what round Gane won in the fight. It was one of the first two, but clear round 3. Volkov won the fight. It was clear 1-1 going into the 3rd round. It was just kind of sad to see because of Volkov having this good run, getting his rematch against Gane, ended up winning it when basically it's still nobody was really giving him a chance. He was still a big underdog in the fight. Okay. As low profile of a fight it is relative to the ones that we've listed so far, this was maybe the most outrageous of all the decisions we've put out so far. Rinat Fakhretdinov lost every single round to Carlos Leal in the opener of a fight. I think it was in either Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi. I cannot remember exactly. I was dead on in blatant shock at this decision. When they read it as a split, it wasn't a split. I think a judge had it 30-27 for Rinat Fakhretdinov, if I'm not wrong. And Carlos Leal, arguably, in my opinion, 100% won all 3 rounds in that fight. Was it competitive to a minute extent? Sure. But you cannot score that fight for Ronald Fakhretdinov. There's no way anybody walked out of there thinking Ronald Fakhretdinov won the fight. Liao was dealing more damage with the strikes. He was defending the takedowns fantastically. Fakhretdinov didn't really have much top time, and he pretty much sucked in the striking throughout the whole fight. Defensively was bad. Offensively was horrible. And Ronald Fakhretdinov had the audacity, by the way, to rip into the commentary saying that they were very biased against him and they weren't treating him right with the commentary. He stole a fight, stole a win check, and was still complaining. I couldn't believe it. If you have not watched this fight, if you have not watched Carlos Leal's debut in the UFC, fighting against Ronald Fakhretdinov, I think it was on short notice as well, if I'm not wrong, please go watch that fight. And I want you to tell me about the shock you get when you see the decision being read and how Leal did not win that fight, let alone every single round on all three judges' scorecards. Do I really need to really say much about Jon Jones versus Dominic Reyes, to be honest? These two, in that fight, the more and more I watch it, the more absurd it gets, really. Rounds 1, 2, and 3, the clearest Dominic Reyes 3 rounds you could have ever scored. And rounds 4 and 5, you could easily score it for Jon Jones. Now, when I talked about earlier, referencing the media members sometimes having some bias when it comes to legends, when it comes to long-term champions, and saying you need to beat the champ, really beat the champ, to take the belt off the champ. This kind of started with like this fight, essentially. It also kind of played into Kamaru Usman's title reign. It played into Israel Adesanya's title reign, where if you weren't really beating these guys, you know, if you weren't taking their souls in these fights, if you weren't finishing them, if you weren't dominantly beating them in a decision, they basically would never give you that win. And this was a very big highlight of it. Even some members somehow scored this 48-47 Jon Jones. Now, I genuinely cannot believe it, but the relatively overwhelming majority gave it to Dominic Reyes. And now Reyes 100% won rounds 1, 2, and 3. There are some fights where, yes, they're close. It's 48-47. It's 3 rounds to 2. It's entertaining. Obviously, Jones won the latter rounds. And sometimes when a fighter wins the last 2 rounds in a 3-round fight, in a 5-round fight, or the last round in a 3-round fight, and there's some sort of substance in rounds 1, 2, or 3, or some sort of substance in round 1 and 2, like, when you win fights later in the rounds, when you win later rounds as opposed to the earlier rounds, some of the judges just completely blow their smoke. I think some people just completely blow their smoke as well. Like, I really think for whatever reason, there's a lot of recency bias instantaneously, goldfish memory in these fights. I mean, also, my favorite thing is when judges take a while to give their scorecards. You're supposed to be judging it per round. You're supposed to be scoring it per round. How are you taking time with your scorecard if you're sitting there judging it per round? Round 1 finishes, you should know who's 10-9, 10-8, whatever it is. Round 2 finishes, 10-9, 10-8, you should know what happened. Same thing round 3. Once round 3 is done, your scorecard should be finished. Should be in Bruce Buffer's hand immediately. Why is it taking any time? Why do split decisions take longer time? Why is that like a consistency? How bad are these judges? How little are they paying attention in these fights? So it's one of those sports, one of the only sports alongside boxing where it's major sports, I would say, alongside boxing, where it's dictated by, apart from a finish, even with referees sometimes with some bad stoppages, sole human error. Like, sole human error causes these people to lose win checks. Dominic Reyes not only lost a win check, didn't get the championship ever in his career, ended up going on to lose 3 straight against Ryan Spann. That was a horrible loss. But against Jan Blachowicz and Yuri Prochazka, I mean, it sucked. It sucked for Reyes. It took away pay-per-view points, took away a lot of money, a lot of fame. Could have been the only guy to beat Jon Jones legitimately in his career at the time. So, yeah, Jones got away with a big one, complete big robbery. And, yeah, this is a very clear Reyes 1, 2, 3. Jose Aldo versus Aiemann Zahabi. I cannot believe how people manipulated themselves into believing that Aiemann Zahabi won that fight. I'm in shock at how Aiemann Zahabi had any sort of people saying that he won that fight. Rounds 1 and 2 were clear Jose Aldo. Round 2, you could make the smallest of arguments that Jose Aldo won that round. Zahabi won that round, and I will give you that merit. But round 3, Jose Aldo knocked Aiemann Zahabi down twice. He was the closest one to finishing the fight. Again, this is why I'm trying to say goldfish memory in these fights is legitimately ridiculous. I cannot believe the goldfish memory in this fight in round 3. Jose Aldo was winning round 3. He hurt Aiemann Zahabi. He knocked him down twice. Was a ridiculous adrenaline dump, mind you. And then he got tired. And then he shot for a takedown. He missed the takedown. He ended up on bottom because he shot for a takedown and was exhausted. And he was really out of breath as big as he could. And he couldn't really throw anything on the feet anymore. He was looking up at the clock. 3 minutes left. Couldn't believe it. And it was just the rest of the fight, basically a half of the round, where Amin Zahabi, after surviving 2 knockdowns, getting the life beaten out of him in the beginning of that round, ends up getting on top and landing some really good elbows on Jose Aldo. But he got knocked down twice in the fight, and a lot of the media members scored it 29-28 for Aldo. I thought Aldo won all 3 rounds. I thought Aldo legitimately won all 3 rounds. I assume most of these media members gave Amin Zahabi round 3. I still don't know how you give a guy who got knocked down twice in a round. Knocked down twice in a round, got the life beaten out of him in the round. The round, because he landed a lot of elbows and the guy was tired on bottom, holding on, and was still in the fight. It doesn't make sense. I need you guys to rewatch that fight and tell me, if Jose Aldo did that at the end of the round, and Amin Zahabi did what he did at the beginning of the round, and let's say Jose Aldo got up and then knocked down Zahabi twice, right? How do you score that round? You cannot score rounds based on what happened when in that round. It's about the entirety of the round and how you score each individual thing. 2 knockdowns in a sequence, nearly finishing the fight, was closer to finishing the fight than Jose Aldo was to being finished by Zahabi on the ground, holding on in full guard, getting elbowed a couple times. Big elbows. I will not deny that those were great elbows. 100% they were. But he was knocked down twice. Zahabi lost all 3 rounds in that fight. The 2 media members that scored it a draw, I swear to God, if there is a 10-8 scorecard that you had for Zahabi in round 3, which is most likely what you had, how do you have a 10-8 scorecard for a guy that got knocked down twice in a round? How? In what world do you score 10-8 for that guy? How? I couldn't believe it. 29-28 Zahabi for 2 of them doesn't make sense. But even with all that, a very overwhelming majority scored it for Aldo. Yeah, a 10-8 round for Zahabi in round 3, where it should have been an Aldo round, is as gross as it's ever gotten. And this was legitimately one of the craziest scores I've ever seen. I could not believe Aldo got robbed fighting Zahabi, who shouldn't have fought in the first place. It should have been a more entertaining fight. In Zahabi's home country, by the way. As disrespectful as it gets to Aldo. Now, I'm not going to cover this one too much, but if you guys have not watched this fight, this is one of the funnier fights in the world because, again, one of the easiest fights to score, 29-28 Miranda Maverick. And Macy Barber was on a little run of just robbing people, robbing Andrea Lee, robbing Miranda Maverick. And when she robbed Andrea Lee, Miranda Maverick went on Instagram, was completely losing her mind, saying Macy the robber Barber. And yeah, literally every single media member had the exact same scorecard. It was as easy as a fight to predict. Easy as a fight to score. That was just one where you watch it, you're just laughing because, like, okay, they're both prospects. UFC wants to push one of them. I don't know how you could have scored that from Macy Barber, but they're just gonna move on. Like, no, everyone was like outraged, but couldn't care less at the same time. It was, if this was like a main event, and this was like, you know, like Israel Adesanya versus, I mean, no, we've seen a bunch of Israel Adesanya robberies, but nothing too crazy. Anyway, you know what I mean? Bigger fight, bigger profile fight, not in the Apex, not women's, you know. I don't know if this is main card or prelims. Yeah, it would have been more outrage. This also would have gotten so much more outrage. Raquel Pennington won the fight. Raquel Pennington beat Juliana Pena. Had the bigger moments. Had the bigger moments in each round. Had a knockdown. I think it was round 4. Clearly won the fight. I think it was like, without a doubt, I'm leaving that fight thinking Raquel Pennington retained her title. But for whatever reason, I still thought like, yeah, Pena's going to get a decision. They're just going to completely screw Raquel Pennington. Any remotely close fight in this sense, they're going to give it to the one lady that talks a little bit more than anybody else there. And that's exactly what happened. Juliana Pena got the belt. One media member scored it. I don't know where they got the draw. I don't know where Jed Mechu got the draw. Maybe he scored a 10-10 round or a 9-9 round. I don't know what you scored. Maybe he scored a 10-8 round for Raquel Pennington where she knocked down Juliana Pena round 4, but then had Juliana winning like 3 rounds or something. I don't know. I don't know how. A very, very overwhelming majority, again, of these media members had it for Raquel Pennington winning the fight. Again, where do you get this fight to Juliana Pena winning 3 rounds? What is Cody Merrow thinking in this fight? What are those 2 judges thinking in the fight? They're not watching. They're not watching. They can't be watching. There's no way you scored that for Juliana Pena. Juliana Pena is nothing in MMA right now to be reasonable in like the top of bantamweight and have the belt again. She won it on a very, very big fluke against Amanda Nunes the first time. Okay, that's great. Congratulations. You won. You got a big moment. You beat Nunes. Got the life beat out of you for 5 rounds after that in the rematch. Okay. Then you fight Raquel Pennington after losing to Nunes, not fighting anybody, and just getting an immediate title shot for no reason again. After sitting out for the vacant title shot between Raquel Pennington and Mayra Bueno Silva, which, again, Mayra didn't really deserve either, don't get me wrong, but, you know, there were more deserving people at women's bantamweight. Women's bantamweight's so bad, they don't want to put anything up there. Anyways, yeah, Pennington clearly won the fight. Doesn't make any sense how she lost it. Move on. And Pena's just going to lose to Kayla Harrison anyways. Now, this is the last one. This is the 10th one that I have listed here. Now, Valentina Shevchenko is back to this concept of what I was talking about, where the media members sometimes favor these legends and think that if they don't completely outrageously lose the title, then you can't really just take it off of them in a decision. And it's showcasing this. This is, again, one of the easiest fights to score. And I think it's also similar to Manon Fiorot versus Valentina Shevchenko that just recently happened. And I actually have both scorecards up for media scorecards in a bit. But Taila Santos, without a shadow of a doubt, won rounds 1, 2, and 3 in this fight. There is no negotiation. She won rounds 1, 2, and 3 easily in this fight. And Valentina Shevchenko just knows how to win fights by complete garbage scorecards. Valentina Shevchenko, on 2 scorecards, somehow got 49-46 against Taila Santos. On 3 scorecards from media members. This is what I'm saying when sometimes media members just can completely just miss a lot of these fights. And I know, I've been using them a lot to kind of back up my point here. But like I said, with some legends, for whatever reason, if they're holding a championship, they refuse to score against them if it's remotely close in any way. Santos 100% won rounds 1, 2, and 3. In my opinion, in the Manon Fiorot fight, she 100% won rounds 2, 3, and 5. If you watch those rounds back, if you watch both 1, 2, and 3 in Santos versus Shevchenko, and 2, 3, 5 in Fiorot versus Valentina, Fiorot won those 3 rounds, Santos won those 3 rounds. Valentina Shevchenko has lost her title so many times, and yet has kept it way too often, especially at the latter end of her career. Again, 49-46 in either of these fights kind of showcases how biased the scoring is towards Valentina Shevchenko, and I could not believe some of the scorecards. Even in the Fiorot fight, as it was close, I remember the Santos fight, and I was like, Fiorot won the fight. She's not going to get the decision. There's just no way she's going to get the decision. Same thing with Taila Santos. After I saw Taila Santos not get the decision, I had no faith in a close decision ever going against Valentina. And again, when Valentina had a close decision against Alexa Grasso, draw. When she had another close decision against, not even close, I think she dominantly won round 3 based on wrestling. She doesn't lose close decisions. Apart from against Amanda Nunes, she does not lose close decisions. And again, it's because she has the title. Amanda Nunes had the title against Valentina Shevchenko, robbed her. It completely supports that argument where, for whatever reason, judges and media members and people who are scoring fights, for whatever reason, do not want to give the challenger a round, or a non-legend challenger a round against a reigning champion or a legend champion if it's close. For whatever reason, they refuse to give close rounds to these guys. And it leads to garbage scorecards like this. Now, a lot of you guys might not think these are robberies. You're wrong. You're objectively wrong. I don't know what to tell you. Go watch them again. It is what it is. Thank you guys all for being here. Thank you guys. 100 subscribers already for YouTube. That's unbelievable. Thank you guys so much. Follow me on TikTok at MMA_DBM. I go live every single day. I post on TikTok every single day. We have over 10,000 followers on TikTok as well. So that was unbelievable. I appreciate you guys so much. Yeah. Appreciate you guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow for tomorrow's video after the fights. Probably going to be doing a UFC 316 recap with the fights coming on tonight. So yeah, appreciate you guys. Sean O'Malley and New, Kayla Harrison and New. See you guys tomorrow. Peace out.